we finally have a depth chart. And there's some things on here. I got some thoughts, but Jake, what are your initial thoughts?
First initial thought is, of course, they don't assign a starting quarterback, right?
Uh-huh.
You knew that was going to happen. That was the first thing I looked for. I
Yeah.
saw the depth chart and I go, "Who's our starting quarterback?" Now you knew Jimmy Lake already said that he wasn't going to announce it until game time. So obviously, it's an or person.
That's like me when I go out to a restaurant.
Right. You might as well just start all three because when I
Uh,
go out to a restaurant, I'll just take. I'm not passing up on that. My second thought, looking at the offensive side, is you nailed the offensive line.
I actually almost nailed the offensive line.
What did you swap?
4 for 5.
And Bonavalu.
I said Mateo Mele was going to start, and instead Victor Kern is the starting right tackle.
Yeah. Okay. But, I mean, you got a lot closer than I did.
Sure.
So I'll give you props on that. But, and then, I don't know. And I don't know how serious to take this. They have Kamari Pleasant listed as the starting tailback. I don't know if that's just a bode to him being in the system for so long. I don't think he's more talented than Sean McGrew nor Richard Newton. So, I mean, maybe he'll get the start, but chances are he's not going to get more snaps or more carries than either one of those guys. I just think that they're more talented. What about you, Trev?
So this is why I didn't want to tell you. If Kamari Pleasant starts the game and gets more than 5 carries, I will start next week's podcast with 30 seconds of me mouth farting.
As little as people want to listen to us already, that's going to put them over the top.
Yeah, but I did it for 30 seconds for a reason, because you can skip 30 seconds if you don't want to listen to me mouth fart.
Our 2 fans, which happen to be our dads, will not be listening that episode if that's the case. And if Kamari Pleasant goes out and gets more than 5 snaps, it's because we're handling Cal.
I guess.
I mean, no better way to start a show for us than handling Cal, you being wrong, and then having to do 30 seconds worth of mouth farts.
I mean, it's really the best of all worlds.
That's a win-win-win.
Triple wins. Those are hard to come by.
Right. We call that the menage.
Yeah.
Trifecta.
Yeah.
Let's get that.
Yeah, the oral fartus.
So, looking at the defensive side, there's one thing that I thought was a little strange. They have Alex Cook listed as the other starting safety opposite Asa Turner. Cam Williams, I thought, had a stranglehold on that job. So either he's not getting it like he didn't last year, or Alex Cook is just playing out of his mind.
Right. And I mean, it could be. I'm other than like the offensive line, I think this depth chart is whatever. I mean, depth charts in general are kind of, especially for it's like making a starting lineup for hockey. Like there's so much substitution. Like who cares? But when it comes to that, maybe it means that Alex Cook is going to be starting opposite Asa Turner. Maybe it's kind of the Kamari Pleasant, give him a nod because they've been in the program for so long.
He's only a junior.
I know, but he's a redshirt junior, so he's been in the program for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and maybe not, when we had Miles, the safety.
Brian?
Yeah, when we had Miles Bryant on, he talked about Alex Cook. So maybe that's true. The other one that you mentioned pre-show was the tight end position, and I kind of wanted to touch on that. When, Kate Otten is listed as the starter, then you have Jack Westover and Mark Redmond. Yep. And one of the things that you said was the guy that I like from Spokane.
Oh,
Yeah, Devin Culp is not listed.
yeah.
And my guess is that that's because Jack Westover isn't actually a tight end. Jack Westover is a fullback.
Okay. Sure.
So my guess is you're going to see Devin Culp. You're gonna see Mark Redmond. But based on the videos, I mean, they gave Mark Redmond a lot of opportunities to take that job, and it looks like maybe he did. But
Yeah.
again, I don't put a ton of stock into the depth chart in general, other than a few key positions. And the one that we care about most, they put 4 starters in alphabetical
Right.
order.
Right.
So didn't learn a lot other than I think the most important one that we learned was the offensive line.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. The only thing I disagree with you on is I don't really see a steady rotation of safeties.
Sure.
I could see a rotation of corners, especially if you're playing an air raid system that you're running a lot.
Right.
You could see a rotation of corners. I don't necessarily see a steady rotation of safeties, but um, who knows? Maybe they have a short leash on Alex Cook, saying, "Hey, here's your chance," but Cam's, he's on your heels, so don't let anything over the top. And the first time you do, we're gonna go with Cam. Um,
But
the wide
honestly,
receiver,
I mean, let's finishing up with the defensive backs. Like they don't even list them as safeties and corners; they just
I
have them
know,
all as
yeah,
defensive backs.
yeah,
And so, if this is true, and this is looking at a nickel package, so there's 2 outside corners, 2 safeties, and a nickel.
hmm
You have Kyler Gordon on the bench, and I don't know how often you're going to have Kyler Gordon on the bench,
right.
because what I think is going to happen is you're going to end up seeing Elijah Molden as like
Your
a
nickel,
hybrid
yeah,
Miles Bryant,
yeah,
Buda Baker, Taylor Rapp kind of a player,
nickel, kind of a third linebacker type,
a blitzing,
yeah,
cover,
yeah,
do everything kind of a player.
yeah.
And because you can't keep a guy like Kyler Gordon off
No,
on
that's
the
hard.
sidelines, right?
That's tough to do. Yeah, he's too much of an athlete to leave him off the field.
Right,
Um, you nailed the wide receivers.
right,
I don't think that was a hard guess, really.
right.
You knew Puka was going to be that number one. You knew Bynum and Jones were probably going to battle for that 2 spot, but they were both going to see the field. Probably equal snaps. It's just situational football.
Right.
Um, they have Jalen McMillan listed on that, which is I thought pretty cool. But what you don't see is your guy.
Yeah.
You, it's you
Yeah,
have Jordan. You have Jordan Chin listed, but not help me with the name.
yeah, Roma Dunze.
Yeah, Roma Dunze. They have
Mm,
Jalen McMillan listed before Roma Dunze. So
yeah, and you also don't have Marcus Spiker on there, which is a little surprising. Although Jordan Chin is a senior,
yeah,
so they're going there. That's another thing. Like you're going, if you think that all these are the only 6 receivers you're
right,
going to see, no. But this might mean that, and things can change. It's you can play anybody this year.
right,
So you're not going to you can't burn the red shirt of McMillan or a Dunze. So
right,
if they're producing, they're going to play. So
right. And that's kind of going back to your point of how serious do you take the depth chart? You probably take the depth chart for the wide receiver room serious as the starters go. I would
sure.
imagine that those 3 are going to be your starters,
Mhm.
but the rotation behind that, it just depends on who they want to see on the field.
Right. And I think that's how it's going to be.
Right.
I mean, if we're going to keep, if we're going to talk about this, it is very cool to see Savell Smalls as the backup outside linebacker to Leatu Latu.
Yep.
I am interested. They have Zion Fatui behind Ryan Bowman, and I
Yep.
still think what you're going to see is those 2 on the field. especially Zion in running situations to set the edge.
Yep. I agree. And then you're probably going to see Savell in an obvious passing situation.
Sure. Passing situations, you could see Savell Smalls in some. Ryan Bowman's still a good pass rusher.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see him, and you're going to see Leatu Latu, who before that neck stinger, he was looking like a big-time player.
I agree. I wouldn't say Ryan Bowman's a good pass rusher. I'd say he's a sufficient pass rusher.
He keeps getting sacks. I agree with you. He's got a low ceiling compared to some of these guys, but it's been it's been years that we've thought that somebody's going to take that spot from him, and it just keeps not happening.
Well, I mean, he's a complete package. I wouldn't say that he's an elite pass rusher by any means. If I'm
he's a good college pass rusher.
Yeah, if I'm in 3rd and 20, I would probably throw Savell in there instead of Bowman, just because of the physically gifted freak of nature that he is, and just tell him to go around somebody.
Yeah, and you could be right, and you're going to see packages with Savell Smalls in, because again, you're not in danger of burning a red shirt. The other one that's interesting before we totally close the book on this is Jackson Sermon holds off everybody for that starting middle linebacker job next to Ulufushio, which I'm surprised. But this is the beginning of a season. He played a lot. He played well towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he's reminds me of that Tevis Bartlett.
Yeah. I honestly, my opinion is I'm more surprised that Ulufushio kept the starting job.
He was dynamite last year.
He was dynamite last year, but there's a lot of scholarship linebackers that were nipping on his heels, but he made a lot of plays last year, so you kind of got to give it to the kid. I had a feeling Jackson Sermon was going to get that starting job, but look at your linebackers right now. Your starting linebackers. You have Bowman, who's a senior, but outside of that, you have sophomore. That's
which is cool. It's also an indictment of recruiting.
I know. I like that though.
Yeah,
I can dig.
Yeah, especially as they become. You watched Edifon Ulufushio really become a playmaker. He's a massive upgrade, and I think honestly, like watching college football for these last couple weeks, there's not a lot of teams that are playing great defense right now, and I don't know if that's due to the pandemic or what, but I expect this Husky defense to be much better than what we've been seeing.
And real quick before we move on, last thing, Thule and Josiah Bronson.
Yep.
Taking the D tackle roles is huge, because those are two mammoth individuals at 300 and 305 pounds that are going to need to clog up the center of that lane. And I think that they got it right with those two.
Right. And then, you got the backups that we talked about, Fatu Atele, another 305-pounder, and then Santaimani, 335 pounds.
I know. I like that a lot.